Good evening, everybody. This is Spencer Keck with the Hillbilly Think Tank. I am the educated hillbilly. No, that's not an oxymoron. Don't call me a moron. I'm coming at you live here from Tunnel Hills, Kentucky, where we are dedicated to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it's that promise of being able to pursue that keeps me going every day, keeps us going. Now, I'm dedicated to service with honor because nothing is better for the soul than serving our neighbors with love and care. Y'all, we know that Captain Whiskey Pete Kegsbreath is beating those war drums with ferocity. And the interesting thing is, the cost of our excursions now worldwide are astounding. That Venezuela Caribbean war, yeah, that's running at $31 million per day, which is $3 million over the budget. All right, and just imagine that, $3 million over the budget, and yet there's still more. Now we started an incursion down in Ecuador. Just today we announced that we are doing joint operations with the Ecuadorian military anti-narcotics operations. So that's more money there to add to that Caribbean excursion cost. And we are at nearly, basically, $4 billion in expenses when it comes to the Caribbean. But again, that's not including now Ecuador being thrown in there. We have spent $8 billion bombing Iran from last year to now. Remember, this is not our first time. Last time we bombed them, we were told, hey, that's all we got to do. We got rid of their nuclear capabilities. Now, just a few months later, nope, we're back at it. And we've already had the high cost of 6 American lives and 3 wounded. So, are we all okay with this? We know that the Senate said, hey, we're not going to vote on this, even though the Constitution says it's something that is congressional purview. War is something that can only be declared by Congress, but the Senate refused to vote on it. So they're just handing the president power that the Constitution says is not the president's. So other money we've spent over in the Middle East, besides that $8 million in expenses with Iran, we have given Israel over $21.7 billion in military aid since October 2024. Now, when you give a foreign military that much money to spend on their military, just hand it to them, can we expect anything less than what they decided to have us do with them all over the Middle East? I mean, that was way more than enough to blow Gaza back to the Middle Ages, obviously, and beyond the Middle Ages, back to the Bronze Ages. But that $21.7 billion, with a B, billion dollars in military aid we've given them in the last year and a half, since October 2024. Yeah, they're putting it to use and basically demanding that we put more of our money and our taxpayers' money, more billions, into use with them and their excursions in the Middle East. So when is this going to end? That's my big question. And are we going to end it? We don't have enough money for healthcare programs here in the United States. We were told during the shutdown that we didn't have enough money to feed folks that are poor, help them out with some food aid. Our public schools are terribly underfunded, way more underfunded than any other Western nation. That's why we're not even near the top of the best educated in the Western world. And yet we have all this money to spend on these frivolous military excursions. Now, I had no love for the Shah at all. I have not been pleased at all with that government since I was a kid and saw the hostage crisis. And my uncle just made it out of the Peace Corps mission he was in Iran, just made it out in time not to be one of the captives like many of his friends were there in Iran. So I have no love for that regime. That is a brutal Islamo-fascist regime. But is this what we voted for? Did we vote for all this money to be spent on folks and excursions overseas rather than using that money on American veterans, on American schools, and American healthcare? That's what I want to know. All right, who else we got on here tonight? We got Tom. Tom says, YouTube is telling me that I only have one person watching. Wonder who that is. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. So, we are now in the middle of Whiskey Pete Kegsbreath's glory days. Let's just go look here for a second at what he said only a little less than a year ago, or a little possibly more than a year ago. Here is what he said about him not being a neocon anymore, being basically quitting the neocon movement and poo-pooing everything the Pentagon has been doing before. Let's go listen. Make sure the audio works here.
Recovering neocon for 6 years now. Like the foolishness with which we ricocheted around the world, intervening, think it was in our best interest, when really we just overturned the table and created something worse in almost every single scenario, has led to almost, the hubris of the Pentagon is that they want to now tell other countries how to do counterinsurgency based on what we did in Iraq and Afghanistan. Are you kidding me? So you really have learned nothing. Okay, nothing. So you're right. The trust there that our political leaders or our generals would have our best interests in mind is totally broken.
So, he said, Captain Whiskey Pete Kegsbreath tells us that trust in the Pentagon is totally broken. He poo-pooed everything that the Pentagon is doing in their endless wars. Here he was talking crap about the endless wars. And yet they're going to tell me they're not starting an endless war now. $21.7 billion in military aid to Israel since October 2024. $31 million a day in our Caribbean, Venezuelan, now Ecuadorian excursion. So expect that cost to actually go up now that we actually are letting it be known that we're also helping the Ecuadorian military out. So $8 billion in bombing Iran the first time we did it last year, and we're told that was all we had to do. and then now we're over $8 billion in Iran, and we haven't even gotten started apparently. So the serious cost of 6 lives. Guys, we could use this money here in Hardin County, Kentucky. That money would do so much for veteran business startups here in a county that has the highest veteran population per capita of any county in Kentucky. That would go a lot for our public schools here in this county. We could start up so many mom and pop startups in this county, have local businesses flourish and make up for the fiasco that was left us when the Glendale electric vehicle battery plant closed down after only being open 3 months. And yet, is this what we want? Is this really what we've been asking for? That's what I'd like to know. So, what do you guys think? Tom, what do you think? Is Whiskey Pete the biggest hypocrite we've ever seen? Him standing there or sitting there on the Sean Ryan show saying that the endless wars were complete horseshit and that it was ludicrous for the Pentagon to tell the world to follow that model. And yet, here we are, doing exactly what he poo-pooed exactly a year ago when he said he wasn't a neocon anymore. Well, this is very neocon-like action to me. Endless wars, constant wars, and the reasons for it change every day. Today, Whiskey Pete tried to say that, oh, it was about retribution for one of the Iranian leaders that tried to kill the president. Really? All right, hey, we got the better weather on here now. Welcome. Tom says, I was against going to war in 2020. 1990 or so. That was the first Gulf War. And again in 2003, the second Gulf War, as he says, GHWB for 1990s war and Shrub for the 2003 war that lasted 20 years. Yeah, the son of a Bush. That's right. I saw through the horse shit then. Absolutely. I didn't see through it in 1990 because I was an eager 19-year-old heading off to my first combat experience. It wasn't until a few years later, in retrospect, I realized what that really was. Then, when we were lied to in 2003 and told that we were heading into Iraq because there was yellow cake uranium being used to make weapons of mass destruction there, yeah, I saw through that horse shit. Also, right with you, Tom. Better Weather, like I said, says, nah. Better Weather says, now there's at least 2. That's correct. 2 or more watching. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it for having at least 2 or more of us here watching. Better Weather says, I would say we never learn, but the world is screaming for us to stop for the obvious reasons. You know, and we apparently don't care what, in this administration, what the world says. But here in Hardin County, and I'd say even from the folks I know, my neighbors in Jefferson County, we know that we could spend this money better in Kentucky. Again, our schools need it. The roads need it, from Dixie Highway, about the time you get near West Point, but before you get out of Jefferson County, Dixie Highway has so many ruts in it that I've blown my tire out there before, just going down the road at speed limit in the right-hand lane. And now that we've had the snow and ice come through again, it's just the same darn thing. When it's more than potholes, it's blow out your tire holes. I pulled my car over, and right behind me, another car came. Its tire blown out, and then another. So we can't tell them we couldn't spend these federal dollars on road maintenance and infrastructure rebuilding like we were supposed to, like we were doing under the previous administration to this one. That's what we need in America. We need revitalized infrastructure. We need to really invest in our public schools and our public education. We truly have to finally say, hey, it's time that we have health care for all. Every other free country in the world has it. Well, y'all, it looks like Whiskey Pete, though, is just the biggest hypocrite of them all. And in the meantime, only way we can stop this is to vote these sons of bitches out. The Senate showed us today they will not enforce the Constitution of the United States. And the U.S. Constitution says powers of war rest with Congress, not with the president, not with Bone Spur Donnie, Captain Bone Spurs. Captain Bone Spurs needs to get his 3 sons in uniform in the infantry. And so do every other one of the leaders of MAGA that are abrogating the powers given to Congress through the Constitution. They decide they're going to give them up. They need to send all of their sons and daughters off to the front lines immediately. Put their money where their mouth is. Put their family jewels where the mouth is. You want to talk about how much you love this war and feel that it is absolutely necessary? Send your kids now. I did over 20 years. I was in 2 wars and many different excursions and deployments all over the world. So it's time that we see the Epstein class get their kids into the military pronto. Hell, that'll save them from being exploited. So, y'all, that's enough of me rambling tonight. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, here in Kentucky, united we stand, divided we fall. And we know that to be united, we must love our neighbors as ourselves. We also know that we are our brother's keeper and our sister's keepers. Bless your corazon, and remember everyone deployed. And let's really keep those families in our hearts who lost 6 service members. They were all reservists deployed to Kuwait. No one ever expects to get deployed to Kuwait and die. That in the past had been the furthest from the front lines and from the action if you got deployed there. That was the rear with the gear area. So I really feel for these families. And I hope that everyone else does. And I hope we feel enough that we go to the polls and we vote these Epstein class facilitators out. Sorry for going overtime. Y'all have a great one.